In the vast, cold emptiness of space, the human species remained a prisoner of circumstance. The Galactic Confederation had long ago decided that Earth and its inhabitants were too dangerous to be allowed free movement among the stars. Massive, quantum barriers stretched like invisible walls around the solar system, a technological marvel that prevented any human spacecraft from crossing beyond their designated boundaries. Admiral Daewon Lee sat in his observation chamber, his weathered hands tracing the holographic displays that showed centuries of human monitoring. The archives were extensive. Countless hours of surveillance, research, and careful documentation of a species that both fascinated and terrified the galactic community. Humans were an anomaly. Unlike other species that had been discovered and integrated into the broader galactic society, humans remained an isolated enigma. Their historical records showed a species of incredible adaptability, technological innovation, and a peculiar combination of destructive potential and remarkable creativity. In the research facilities of the Confederation's Central Command, teams of alien scientists continuously analyzed human behavior. They studied everything from their biological responses to their technological developments, searching for any indication of why humans were considered so potentially dangerous. June Park, unaware of the constant surveillance, worked in a small laboratory on the outskirts of human-controlled space. He was developing something that would change everything, a quantum communication technology that could potentially breach the barriers that had contained humanity for generations. The barriers were more than just physical restrictions. They were a psychological prison, a constant reminder to humans that they were considered a threat to the galactic order. Generations had been born, lived, and died within these invisible walls, knowing nothing but the limited space of their solar system. But humans were not a species to be easily contained. The Confederation's decision to isolate humans had been made centuries ago, following a series of conflicts that had demonstrated humanity's unprecedented capacity for adaptation and conflict. Their wars, their technological leaps, their ability to turn seemingly impossible situations to their advantage, all of these had marked humans as a species to be feared. Yoo-Jin Choi, a colleague of June Park, reviewed the latest data from their research. Something was brewing, a potential breakthrough that could change everything. The quantum slipstream technology they were developing was more than just a scientific experiment. It was a potential key to freedom. In the central chambers of the Galactic Confederation, discussions about humans were always tense. Some argued for complete elimination, while others believed in continued observation. The fear was palpable. A species that could go from stone tools to nuclear technology in a mere few thousand years was not to be underestimated. The quantum barriers were a marvel of technology. Millions of interconnected quantum sensors created a network so complex that no known spacecraft could pass through. Energy signatures were instantly detected, quantum entanglement networks tracked every microscopic movement, and advanced AI systems monitored the smallest potential breach. But technology, no matter how advanced, always has its limits. June Park understood this better than anyone. His research was not about creating a weapon or planning an invasion. It was about understanding, about breaking free from the invisible chains that had bound humanity for so long. Each calculation, each experimental design was a step towards something greater. The human spirit was not something that could be contained by technology or political decisions. It was a force of nature, unpredictable and relentless. As the holographic displays continued to track human activities, as alien scientists continued their endless observations, something was changing. A breakthrough was coming. The barriers that had kept humanity isolated were about to face their greatest challenge, and neither the Galactic Confederation nor the humans themselves fully understood what was about to happen. The laboratory was quiet, with only the soft hum of advanced equipment breaking the silence. June Park leaned over his workstation, his eyes fixed on a complex set of quantum calculations that danced across multiple holographic screens. Years of research had led to this moment, a potential breakthrough that could change everything humans understood about their technological limitations. Yoo-Jin Choi watched carefully, her fingers moving across a digital interface that tracked every microscopic change in their experimental setup. They were attempting something that every other research team had considered impossible, creating a quantum slipstream technology that could potentially bypass the most advanced barrier systems in the known galaxy. The team had been working in complete secrecy. They understood that their research could mean the difference between continued isolation and potential freedom for humanity. Each calculation was a careful step, each experiment a delicate balance between scientific innovation and potential catastrophic failure. Outside the research facility, the world continued as it always had. Humans lived their lives within the confined space of their solar system, unaware that a small group of scientists was about to challenge the very boundaries that had contained them for generations. June's latest breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. He had been studying the quantum entanglement patterns used in the Galactic Confederation's barrier systems. Most scientists would have seen these as impenetrable, but June saw them differently, as a complex puzzle waiting to be solved. The key was in understanding the quantum communication network. Most barriers worked by detecting and immediately neutralizing any energy signature that didn't match specific parameters. But what if they could create an energy signature that was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere? Days turned into weeks. Countless failed experiments were followed by small, almost imperceptible successes. The team worked with a combination of scientific precision and human determination that was uniquely their own. Eugene noticed something strange in their latest dataset, a quantum signature that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. It was impossible, and yet there it was, dancing across their screens in defiance of everything they had been taught about physics and space travel. The research had implications far beyond simply breaching the barriers. This was about understanding the fundamental nature of space, energy, and movement. Humans had always been good at pushing boundaries, at finding ways around seemingly impossible obstacles. Their laboratory was a testament to human ingenuity. Equipment cobbled together from various sources, improvised solutions that would make traditional scientists laugh, and a level of creative thinking that went beyond conventional scientific approach. June understood the risks. If they succeeded, they would be challenging the most powerful political and technological system in the known galaxy. The Galactic Confederation would not take kindly to humans finding a way to break their carefully constructed containment. But that was the nature of human progress. Every great advancement in human history had come from someone willing to challenge the existing understanding of what was possible. The quantum slipstream device began to take shape. It was not a traditional spacecraft or a conventional communication device. It was something entirely new, a hybrid of communication technology and transportation system that defied existing scientific understanding. Eugene's hands shook slightly as she ran the final calculations. They were close, so close to something that could change everything. The device was small, no larger than a standard research container. But within its compact frame lay the potential to breach barriers that had contained humanity for generations. It represented hope, freedom, and the unbreakable human spirit of exploration. As the final test began, June and Eugene exchanged a look. They both knew that this was more than just a scientific experiment. This was humanity's first real chance to prove that they were more than just a contained species. The quantum slipstream generator hummed to life. Lights flickered. Quantum. Particles began to dance in patterns never before seen in human scientific history. The quantum slipstream vessel emerged from Earth's orbital space like a ghost. Silent, unexpected, and impossibly precise. Hana Kim sat at the control station, her hands steady, her breathing calm. Around her, the small crew of 5 watched, their instrument panels with a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. Galactic monitoring stations erupted into chaos the moment the human vessel appeared. No energy signature matched their records. No traditional propulsion system could be detected. It was as if the ship had simply materialized out of thin space, defying every known law of physics and technological tracking. Admiral Daewon Lee's communication console lit up with urgent alerts. Hundreds of sensor systems were reporting the same impossible thing. A human vessel that should not exist, moving in ways that defied conventional understanding. The ship's design was unlike anything in the galactic records. Sleek, almost organic in its lines, it moved with a mathematical precision that suggested something beyond traditional navigation. Its surface seemed to shimmer, changing subtly as if adapting to the quantum environment around it. Hana understood the significance of this moment. This was not an act of aggression. This was a statement. Humanity was declaring its capability, its readiness to be more than a contained species. Each movement of the ship was calculated, each quantum shift a carefully planned demonstration. Quantum barrier systems that had been considered impenetrable for centuries began to flicker. Sensors designed to detect and neutralize any unauthorized movement found themselves confused by the ship's quantum signature. It was simultaneously present and not present, a state that challenged everything known about space travel. The crew moved with a practiced efficiency. June Park's quantum slipstream technology was working perfectly. They had prepared for this moment for years, understanding that their first emergence needed to be precise, controlled, and absolutely deliberate. Alien monitoring stations watched in stunned silence. Hundreds of species observed as the human vessel moved through quantum, barriers that had been considered absolute. No weapons were deployed. No aggressive signals were sent. This was pure technological demonstration. Eugene Choi monitored the external quantum readings. Their ship was not just moving through space, it was communicating with the space itself. Quantum entanglement networks that had been used to contain humans were now being used as a navigation system. The Galactic Confederation's emergency councils began to convene. Some demanded immediate military action. Others argued for caution. The humans had not attacked. They had simply shown that the barriers were an illusion. Inside the ship, Hana Kim prepared the first communication. It would not be a declaration of war. It would be a simple, clear message about humanity's intentions. Years of preparation had led to this moment, a chance to show that humans were more than just a warrior species. Quantum sensors across multiple star systems recorded the event. A human vessel had emerged from its containment zone without firing a single weapon, without sending a single aggressive signal. It was a technological achievement that rewrote everything known about space travel and species interaction. The ship's movement was almost beautiful, a dance of quantum mechanics that suggested an understanding of physics far beyond what other species had imagined possible. Each quantum shift was a statement, each movement a careful demonstration of capability. Admiral Lee watched the holographic displays with a mix of fear and grudging respect. Humans had always been unpredictable, but this was beyond anything the Galactic Confederation had anticipated. As the human vessel continued its precise journey, it became clear that this was not an invasion. This was an introduction. Humanity was announcing its readiness to engage with the broader galactic community on its own terms. The first emergence had begun, and nothing would be the same again. The quantum slipstream vessel continued its measured path, a silent messenger of humanity's potential. No weapons, no aggression, just pure, calculated technological capability. The Galactic Council chamber fell into a deep, tense silence when Hana Kim walked through its massive doors. Representatives from hundreds of alien species watched her. With a mixture of fear, curiosity, and barely contained hostility, she was human, and humans were not supposed to be here. The chamber itself was a marvel of galactic engineering, floating platforms suspended in a massive holographic space, each representing a different species and their respective political systems. Some platforms were organic, others mechanical, and a few existed in states that human science could not even comprehend. Admiral Daewon Lee sat at the central platform, his multiple appendages moving nervously across communication interfaces. He had been the primary architect of humanity's containment strategy, and now that strategy was crumbling before his eyes. "We are here," Hana began, her voice calm and clear. "Not to conquer, but to negotiate our place in the galactic community. The words hung in the air, challenging centuries of established belief about human potential. Some representatives immediately began transmitting defensive protocols. Others leaned forward, genuinely intrigued by this unexpected diplomatic approach. The Zarin delegation, known for their aggressive military stance, demanded immediate explanation. Their representative, a creature of crystalline structure and complex neural networks, projected holographic threat simulations showing potential human invasion scenarios. Hana remained unfazed. She understood that this moment was about more than just immediate diplomatic relations. This was about changing fundamental perceptions about humanity. Our quantum slipstream technology is not a weapon, she explained. It is a communication tool. We seek understanding, not conflict. The scientific representatives were the first to show genuine interest. The quantum mechanics demonstrated by the human vessel were unlike anything in galactic records. It suggested a level of technological understanding that went beyond traditional space travel concepts. Some delegates argued for immediate military intervention. Others suggested comprehensive quarantine protocols. But a growing number were simply curious about this unexpected development. June Park, watching from a remote communication link, monitored every nuanced interaction. Years of preparation had led to this moment, a carefully calculated diplomatic approach that challenged everything the Galactic Confederation believed about humans. The holographic displays began showing historical records. Human conflicts, technological developments, social structures. Everything was being re-examined in light of this new emergence. The narrative was shifting from dangerous species to potential partners. Yujin Choi had prepared extensive scientific documentation. Their quantum slipstream research was not just a technological achievement, it was a philosophical statement about human potential for peaceful exploration. Hours passed. The initial hostility began to transform into a complex mixture of respect and cautious curiosity. Humans were not behaving like the aggressive species in the historical archives. They were presenting themselves as a calculated, intelligent civilization, seeking integration. We do not seek to replace or challenge existing galactic structures, Hana continued. We seek to contribute, to learn, to grow alongside other species. The diplomatic confrontation was becoming something unexpected, a potential beginning of a new galactic understanding. Admiral Lee watched carefully. The human representative was dismantling centuries of fear and containment policies with simple, clear communication. No weapons, no threats. Just a clear, rational approach to potential cooperation. As the session continued, something remarkable began to happen. Delegates started asking questions, real, genuine questions about human technology, human culture, human potential. The quantum slipstream vessel remained in view of the council chamber, a silent testament to human capability. It was not an aggressive symbol. It was a bridge between isolation and integration, between fear and understanding, between what was known and what could be possible. The diplomatic confrontation was transforming into something neither humans nor the Galactic Confederation had ever anticipated. The quantum barriers that had contained humanity for generations began to dissolve, not through violence or conflict, but through a carefully negotiated process of understanding and technological exchange. Hana Kim stood at the center of this transformation. Her diplomatic approach had done what centuries of isolation could not. It had changed the fundamental perception of humanity in the galactic community. Scientific exchanges became the first real connection. Human researchers like June Park and Yujin Choi were invited to collaborative research stations across multiple star systems. Their quantum slipstream technology became a topic of intense fascination, not fear. The Galactic Confederation realized that humans were not simply a warrior species to be feared. They were innovators, problem solvers, with a unique capacity for adaptation that went beyond traditional understanding. Admiral Daewon Lee, who had been the primary architect of human containment, became an unexpected advocate for human integration. His detailed reports showed that humans represented a potential asset, not a threat. Quantum communication networks that were once used to isolate humans now became channels of cultural and scientific exchange. Schools across different star systems began studying human history, human technological development, human cultural innovations. The first joint research stations were established. Humans worked alongside species that looked nothing like them, some crystalline, some energy-based, some existing in states that human science could barely comprehend. But they worked together, bridging gaps that seemed impossible just years before. Economic systems began to shift. Human innovation brought new technological approaches that benefited multiple species. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges began. What was once a containment zone became a gateway of potential. Eugene Choi's quantum research teams developed communication technologies that allowed unprecedented levels of cross-species understanding. Language barriers began to dissolve. Cultural misunderstandings became opportunities for learning. The military strategists who had once viewed humans as a potential threat now saw them as potential allies. Human strategic thinking, their ability to adapt, their innovative problem-solving became valued capabilities in complex galactic interactions. Educational systems across multiple planets began introducing human historical and cultural studies. Children of different species learned about human achievements, human challenges, human potential for both destruction and incredible cooperation. The quantum slipstream vessel that had first emerged became a symbol of this new understanding. It was displayed in galactic museums, studied by researchers, remembered as the moment everything changed. June Park continued his research, now collaborating with scientists from species that looked nothing like humans. Their shared goal was no longer containment but exploration, understanding, mutual growth. Cultural exchanges revealed something unexpected. Humans were not just technologically innovative, they were emotionally complex, capable of deep empathy, remarkable creativity, and unprecedented levels of collaborative thinking. The barriers that had once seemed so absolute began to look like temporary constructions. Humanity was no longer an isolated species. They were becoming a genuine part of the galactic community. Political structures began to adapt. Representation systems changed. The Galactic Confederation was no longer just a containment mechanism, but a true collaborative platform where different species could genuinely communicate and understand each other. Hana Kim, who had been the primary diplomatic representative, became a symbol of this transformation. Her approach had shown that diplomatic success was not about force, but about genuine communication, respect, and a willingness to understand. The quantum slipstream technology continued to evolve. What had begun as a method to breach barriers became a tool for unprecedented levels of scientific and cultural exploration. Economic systems transformed. Human innovative approaches to problem-solving created new industries, new possibilities of collaboration that benefited multiple species. As years passed, the initial fear transformed into genuine respect. Humans were no longer seen as a contained, dangerous species. They were partners, collaborators, integral members of a complex, interconnected galactic community. The containment was truly over, not through conflict, but through understanding.